Okay, we'll call to order the Monday, May 7th, 2018 Citizen Involvement Committee meeting. Our chair, Amy Wilhead, is not able to be here this evening, so I'll be serving as chair. First order of business, we need Dennis Anderson, our secretary, is not here tonight either, so we need a volunteer secretary. You don't have to keep blow-by-blow minutes. What you have to do is just take the roll and then record the results of any motions, any votes and motions that we have. So do I have a volunteer?
Oh,
Steve volunteers.
Steve.
Okay.
And Steve, I'll get you a printout of the motions while Kristen does the presentation. So Steve has the attendance sheet. He'll name off the neighborhood association, and whoever is here representing, respond with your name, please. The official sheet.
This is it, huh?
That's it?
Yep.
Okay, Barkley Hills,
Janice Morris.
Kanema,
Here, Linda Basinger.
Caulfield,
Mike Mitchell.
Gaffney Lane, Hellendale,
Roy Harris.
McLaughlin. That's surprising. Park Place, Steve Van Heverbeek, Rivercrest,
Karen Morey.
South End, Tower Vista,
Aaron Johnson.
and Two Rivers.
Okay. All right, thank you. So we'll move on to item 2 on the agenda, which is presentations. And we have Kristen Brown, our Community Communications Coordinator. Boy, that's a mouthful. They have to print that extra small on your
I
business
know.
card, right?
I have to say, I have shortened it and just call myself the Communications Coordinator just
All
because
right.
it's
Well, Kristen,
easy.
thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. And I think we're getting the presentation.
You're all set. With this magic button, you were all set.
Ta-da! So, I'm so excited to be here with you guys and in learning more about the CIC. Your role is to be a conduit of information from the city to your neighborhoods. So you guys must have a little bit of government geek inside of you, like I do too. And my presentation today is going to be a little bit about what I'm doing, kind of my methodology of how I communicate, and then maybe some tips for you guys. And I want to leave some time afterwards so that way we can have a good Q&A. And I know you guys have tons of Q's, and hopefully I have a little bit of A's. So as Mike said, my name is Kristen Brown. I'm born and raised Texan. My husband and I moved here in January. My husband had a great opportunity to work in the wine. He was in the wine industry, and he had a great opportunity to work with a winery here in Oregon. And we really wanted to experience summers without multiple days in the 100 degrees. Even though we're getting close to that, I feel like it won't be July and August in Texas as it will be here in Oregon. So you'll have to pardon my y'alls and fixin' twos. I'm really working on my vernacular here and learning a lot. So I wanted to share this slide with you guys. There was a recent study shown, or a study done on the human attention span. And in the year 2000, our attention span was 12 seconds. Cut to 2017, the human attention span is 8 seconds. Goldfish's attention spans are 9 seconds. I don't know what that says about us, but I do know that we're in a time and a place where we have to talk fast, act fast in order to get people's attention. And in the research, they've shown that the reason our attention spans are so much shorter are because the way that we consume information has changed. So you used to get your newspaper and watch the news regularly and listen to the news on the radio, and that was traditional media. Those things are still available to this day, but the big game changer, obviously, is digital media. We all have cell phones in our pockets. We all have a laptop, desktop at home, and we all access information online thanks to the internet. We are now in a time, in a place, in a world where we have access to all the information we could ever want, ever need, right at our fingertips in our hip pocket, which is just astounding, amazing, incredible, and quite frankly, very scary. So we are engaged in total communication. We are in a place where everybody wants instant access to data, and they want it fast, and they want it to be easy to understand and easy to read. So also to share with you guys, the average adult spends 2.5 hours on social media. Studies have shown that teenagers spend, you two don't guess, you've heard this. Any guesses how many hours a day a teenager spends in social media? Throw a number.
6 hours.
9 hours. When do they sleep? That's what I want to know. That kind of it definitely hurts my heart. But this just shows you a great breakdown of what the average day looks like for the average adult. YouTube is killing it in content. Facebook is a mega monster. And the other, that 45 minutes, really depends on your age, depends on your gender, and depends on where you live. So that could be Instagram, that could be Twitter, that could be Marco Polo or Snapchat or whatever other social media platform is trending at the time. But I wanted to focus a bit on Facebook because Facebook has over 2 billion active users every month. And just by show of hands, how many of you are on Facebook? Yeah, I mean, it's maybe not everybody, but you know it's a behemoth and it's a monster, and it is a platform that is set up in a way to share information. And so like it or not, right or wrong, it is a platform that we have to acknowledge and we have to use as communication. And so I'm gonna get a little nerdy about Facebook. So if you don't care about it, just take a little nap. And some of you already know this information, but Facebook has an algorithm. So when you sign up for your Facebook page, you have friends. And what those friends post, you get to see in your newsfeed, right? And what Facebook does is it tracks what you're doing. And so if you pause at the cute puppy videos, or all the yummy dessert videos, you better believe the next time you're on Facebook, you're gonna see cute puppy videos and yummy dessert videos. And Facebook knows that that's what you like, so it continues to feed that information. And something that is a little surprising to people is if you choose to follow a page, Facebook doesn't always give you all of the posts that that page puts out. It will give you the post if you engage with it, if you like it, if you comment on it, if you just stop the scroll and look at whatever that page has posted. That's all information that Facebook is just gathering and building so that way they can build the perfect news feed for you. This is an example of a post that I did for the Pioneer Community Center. They called me and they said, hey, we want to give some more information about the Meals on Wheels program and do a call for volunteers. So I posted a little video, and I don't know if we can get it to play, but it doesn't make a difference. So it's a little video, and there's some text over the video, and it's talking about the program. And you can see that close to 500 people they were fed this video in their news feed, and 243 people stopped and they actually watched it. And then there were 26 reactions. So what this means is those 26 people and potentially the 243 people, the next time I post a video and I post something about volunteerism or maybe the Pioneer Center, they're going to get fed the content that I put out. That's how to the minutia and the nitty gritty that Facebook can get into. That's what we're talking about. But conversely, the Parks and Rec Department shared that same video the next day, March 9th at 8:20 a.m. and they only reached 14 people and one person saw it. So we can't say that all content is created equal. It really depends on who's following your page. And also, I wanted to share this with you guys. This is a peek into the back end of the City Hall Facebook page. I can go in and see when people are on Facebook, when my followers are following me on Facebook. And I know this is really hard to see, but essentially at 8 p.m., we have about 790 people who are on Facebook. So if I want to put something out that I know is going to get a lot of eyeballs on it, I'm going to schedule something around 7:30, 8-ish, so that way I can get max eyes on whatever I'm posting. Why there's kind of a spike at 8 a.m., I feel like maybe you drop your kids off and then you're at your desk at work, and then maybe 8 p.m. the kids are already in bed, and so you're scrolling through. I don't know what the methodology behind the 8 a.m. and the 8 p.m., but we do have those little spikes. And it is interesting. I've gone in and looked at the library, Parks and Rec, and they both have a very similar chart. PD is very different. They have more eyes in the morning, and then they have eyes on their page much later in the evening. I don't know what that says about the people that are following the PD page, but it's just fascinating. And this is stuff I really geek out on, so I apologize if this is way in the weeds. But something that I do weekly is I go in, and these are all of the posts that the City Hall page has posted. I try to post something daily, and I do try to vary the times, because obviously if I'm feeding posts at 8 p.m., I'm going to get more eyes at 8 p.m., and that could skew that chart, right? Obviously a little higher up. So I want to feed things throughout the day. The cool thing to me about this is this chart tells you what type of post it is. So whether it's a video or just a link or multiple images, people love humor. And so the highest reach of posts that I have was about calling for nominations for the Glen Oak Park. And I made a little joke, and people liked it, and they shared it. The next highest was information about the 12th and Washington transportation project, which is great. People are very interested in what's going on. Any delays or closures, folks really are interested in, and they tend to share that information. And then I love that the third highest is our community enhancement grant. So it was, again, a video with some text over it that was announcing the deadline is approaching to get your enhancement grant applications in. So I look at this weekly just to see what's trending, what's working. I go into the other Facebook accounts and see what works for those guys too. We really haven't focused on boosting posts a lot, but I would say my former job, we did boost quite a bit just when we saw that things were trending up and you wanted to keep the momentum going. You'd put $15, $20 and you'd see that your reach is exponentially more. So I would be remiss if I did not bring up Nextdoor, since we are neighborhood association representatives here. Nextdoor is kind of the new guy in the social media platform world. I call it negative door because some of the information definitely skews negative, but this is a platform that was created for neighborhoods to share information. So we can't discount what Nextdoor's intent is. Now, what people actually share and what they do on Nextdoor, that's humans and human nature. But as I said, I wanted to share this with you guys. As the City of Oregon City, I have registered as the communications coordinator. And if you're checking your Nextdoor emails, you'll see emails come from me. Not as regularly. I'm kind of working on what works best for folks on Nextdoor. But I did want to share the stats. I get a weekly email from Nextdoor that shows how many verified residents are here in Oregon City, how many joined in the past week, and then kind of a monthly recap. So to reach 4,900 people in one post, that's more than we get on Facebook, and it's more than the cops in the library and parks and my Facebook page put out combined together. So really the power of Nextdoor is pretty awesome. The one thing I don't like about Nextdoor is we do have a social media policy, and Nextdoor doesn't allow you to hide comments. So if someone were to read my post and then they replied and said, I sell Scentsy, my name is Kristen, and here's my phone number, there's no way I can hide that, and that goes against our social media policy. And then that could kind of be viewed as, oh wow, well the city allows people to sell Scentsy on their posts. So I typically close replies, which is really difficult as a communicator. I don't like to stop communication. And it is something that I've expressed to Nextdoor that the ability to hide versus delete, it would be great for city communicators to have. There are times where PD has made posts and people release private information in the comments. So then PD has to go and completely delete their post, and therefore they're not getting the entire communication out. And to me, it's just a functionality of Nextdoor, and the Nextdoor folks have said, this is something we're gonna look into. So fingers crossed, guys, fingers crossed. So getting back to my day-to-day, I am always looking for the special sauce of information, right? Of all the people in Oregon City, where are we reaching folks that want to find information out about what's happening in the city? Is it an e-newsletter? Is it a newspaper? Is it Facebook? Is it all these social media platforms? And the answer is it's a scattershot, right? Because there's not one platform that reaches everybody. So really what I've been working on is trying to hone in on the best information to put out on what platform. So here we are to you guys, CIC. You have a very lofty charge, and I commend you guys for being here and volunteering your time, because it's a great committee that you guys are involved in, and educating your neighborhoods about what's going on is very difficult because not everybody cares and not everybody wants to be involved. So this is kind of my journalism lesson to you guys. You know, you always want to know who your audience is. So who's in your neighborhood? Is it that punk rocker? Is it the family? Is it the cute little couple? Do you have farmers? I don't know. So I think your first step in communication is always who is your audience. And then once you're communicating to them, you remember your 5 W's, who, what, where, when, why. And then the KISS method, which is keep it simple, stupid. Studies have shown that people want to read at a 3rd grade level. So as simple and easy as you can make your communication, the more likely somebody is to read it. And then as always, I encourage you guys to share and repost. Christina's going to talk about this equitable housing community workshop that's already up on our Facebook page. We've posted it on Nextdoor. So feel free to use the content that we're already creating and just share it. A little thing about Facebook, they do like original content. So Facebook would probably feed it to more people if you actually typed it in. But my goodness, save yourself the heartache. You don't have to use Photoshop. Just share whatever you think is pertinent to your neighborhood. And then a little bit more about what I've got in the works this summer. I'm going to put out a community survey, trying to figure out that special sauce, trying to delve into where people want information, how they want it, how frequently they want it. And then as well as that, tying in some satisfaction survey questions. So just seeing how our community is satisfied, you know, with our police, with our parks. And then hopefully that'd be great information I can share with you guys. And then the other big project I have on my plate is our 2018 photo contest. We're going to do a parks edition because we need some more beautiful pictures of our parks. So I would beg and plead your help to get that survey out and beg and plead your help to get the photo contest out. And with that, I hope it hasn't been 15 minutes, but I'll take any questions you guys have. Yes, sir.
Steve?
So, Nextdoor.
Yes, sir.
We set up a Nextdoor account for our neighborhood probably 5 years ago, about the time that it was available. How did you get access to our Nextdoor?
So as a city official, just like police, Nextdoor goes through a 3-phase checks and ID process to allow me to communicate to all Oregon City residents. So that means I received an email, I received a phone call, they did the mailer to City Hall, and I had, like I said, a 3-step verification that I am who I say I am.
Okay.
It's a
Well,
very good question.
It allowed me to set it up, but I couldn't participate because I had a post office box and didn't get mail in the neighborhood.
Interesting.
So-
Sneaky. Now, I will say when I'm posting on Nextdoor, I cannot see what's going on in other neighborhood associations. I can't see any conversations. The only conversations I can see are posts and replies to what I put out.
Okay.
So, and that's the way we want it to be, right? Your neighborhood should be its own entity, and that's what Nextdoor is, to have your own little group and your own little communication bulletin board, essentially. But I would maybe reach out to them. Did it die or? No, somebody got it to work?
Yeah,
Oh, good.
it was working.
Gotcha.
And they finally updated their policy so that while I don't have a mailing address in,
Your neighborhood.
I still have a home there, so they figured out, yes, I could.
Good. I'm glad. That's great. Any other questions?
So the summary you talked about, or the summary you showed us of activities on Nextdoor and on Facebook and all
Yes, sir.
that, do you get that through being the city coordinator, or is that type of data available to anybody that's on Nextdoor or Facebook?
The stats.
The stats you gave us
Yeah,
tonight, yes.
I get them because of
You're the
my title,
coordinator,
right?
okay.
And how I'm using that tool. Yeah.
So as part of your job working with us, I guess you would, or we could get some of that data from you, like that says, okay, if you're going to spend your nickel on some program, which is the best one to do?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to give that information out. Absolutely. You can geek out with me on the numbers.
Yeah, Kristen, could you talk just a little bit? A concern that I have, obviously social media is a great way to disseminate information, but it's also a great way to disseminate misinformation.
It is.
So how do, and there, we get into this issue of, what was posted by the city and what was posted by somebody, and do they, what's their position, and do they have the right information?
Yeah, it's hard.
How do we make all that work?
It's hard. And I will say, not having someone at the helm of communications has made those waters really muddy, because we're a big city, right? And there's so much going on. So not having a single point person to really coordinate the activity and disseminate the information. Of course, misinformation is going to get out because you don't really have a point person kind of writing herd on what's getting disseminated. I would always say go straight to the horse, and if you see misinformation getting spread, it is difficult to engage but not get called names or, get mud thrown at you. But I would always stand up for the truth and say, I think this is inaccurate. Why don't you call City Hall? Or I think this is inaccurate. John Lewis has the information you're looking for, whatever, what have you. But you're right. It's absolutely difficult. And it's funny because Facebook, gosh, it's been about a year ago now, they tried to stop fake news. And so when you would put a link to a news article, you weren't allowed to alter the heading on it. You can alter the image, but not the heading. So that way somebody couldn't say something salacious, but really that article, had nothing to do with the salacious title, because that's what was going on. So that was Facebook's fix a little bit. So I think social media platforms are recognizing that misinformation does get spread, and they're kind of working on ways to mitigate that. But at the end of the day, if people want to spread gossip, they're going to spread gossip, and that is very difficult to quell.
Any other questions? All right, Kristen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was very helpful.
Pleasure to be here.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 3 on the agenda, which is public comment. Any members of the public present who want to make a comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. Staff liaison update on questions from the last meeting. Christina.
Thank you. I have a couple from the agenda, and then, as you see, I put 3 flyers on your dais. I responded back to some equitable housing questions from Pete Walter last month about the proportion of renters to owners. It's 33 and 66%. Renters 33, owners 66. And then there's a breakdown of units by type, and that's in the staff report. The Hazel Grove website subsection and our city website has been updated to say people requesting a neighborhood meeting for land use should contact CIC staff to schedule a meeting with CIC to make sure that if your project is in Hazel Grove, you don't necessarily get to have your neighbor association with Hillendale. You need to go to the CIC for that, because Hillendale is just allowing Hazel Grove to attend their meetings, right?
No. Hazel Grove, I thought it was going to South End.
South End, that's what I meant, sorry, South End. I think the idea is, even though you're partnering with another neighbor association, if your neighbor association is not active, then the CIC will hold the land use notice and the land use meeting. So that was what Chair White asked, and that is correct by the code, and we've updated the website. And then the next one, we have had neighbor associations receive a land use request. In our code, we do have a requirement that developers or people looking to develop send a certified letter to a neighbor association to start the kind of the clock. I think it's a 30-day clock, whereas if they don't hear any information back, they can hold their own meeting. And from a while back, a lot of neighbor associations identified that they were fine receiving the email as the initial request rather than the certified letter, but we haven't been keeping track of that, and people have changed neighbor association, there have been officers, so I am asking if you could check back with your neighborhood association and determine if an alternative communication contact information makes more sense, either someone's mailing address or email or whatever, phone number, whatever you want. I can provide that to developers at that time. If you want to stay with a certified letter, I can do that as well. I've received some comments from some neighborhood associations, but not everybody. Let's see. And we have made sure that in pre-application conferences, we give neighborhood association contacts and their notes, and we will, from last month on, we're making sure that people know that the CIC chair also receives a notification of neighborhood association meetings. And that's in our chapter 1750 neighborhood association meeting section. So we've made sure we had that because Chair Wilhite had not been receiving many neighborhood association meeting notifications, even though it was in the code. Finally, Katie Riggs will no longer be processing neighborhood association postcards and the budget. So Kelsey McNall, who's a permit tech with our community development department, will be doing that, but because of time constraints, she doesn't have the ability to format postcards. And so we're asking the neighborhood associations to work directly with Buell's to format the postcard, and then CC Kelsey, and she will cut the check and run the accounting for those postcards. And I know Karen had a comment if you wanna.
Oh, because the format that was sent to us is in Publisher and not everybody has it, I'm willing to contact Buell's to see what else they can accept And if your secretaries have an issue with it, they can let me know. And I'll see if I can come up with a way that they can actually modify it in the future and share it with Buell's.
And I'd be happy to work with Karen to make sure that whatever is the logistics is set out, I'll put it in an email to everybody.
Yeah, I think that'd be good, because I imagine that most of the secretaries are not going to have access to Publisher.
Let's see. And then you have three flyers. One is let me grab my flyers. First one is a film about Frederick Law Olmsted designing America. It's being sponsored by the End of the Oregon Trail, Willamette Falls, and the Oregon City Library, and that's on May 10th at the Interpretive Center. The second are open houses for the Community Development Department. You get to see where we moved in. It's really actually a very neat building. And that's May 14th, next Monday from 4 to 6 p.m. before the Planning Commission meeting. So we'll have an open house, we'll have some refreshments, and you can walk around and take a look at where all your money went to and how excited we are about our new long-term location. And we're done with our lease and we're happy with our new place.
Don't you want to phrase that as where all your money savings went to?
Exactly, that's it. Future money savings are happening right at 698 Warner Milne Road. And finally, there's a Equitable Housing open house, and that's Tuesday, May 15th from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Oregon City Public Library to learn about actions the city is proposing to encourage more housing and a greater variety of housing types. There's a citizen involvement group that's been working hard this year, and they'll be there and talk about how we can provide more options kind of for that missing middle that Pete talked about at last month's meeting. So encourage everyone to attend. We have I gave you hard copies here, and we have some extras. There was an email that went out today, so I encourage you as appropriate for your neighborhood association to pass those on. And any other questions regarding the liaison comments for last month?
Christina, is the Frederick Olmsted film, is that available any place other than what we're doing?
No, it's a special screening at the end of the Oregon Trail Museum. And I do want to note that...
The library does have a copy of that.
Oh, they do? Oh, great.
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
That you can check out.
That's what I was going to thank you. Yeah.
That's great.
But it sounds like the filmmaker is going to be at this session, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And beer and wine will be available for purchase if you'd like to.
Okay, well,
That ought to change the priorities.
yeah, forget that, Steve.
Okay, any questions for Christina? All right, we'll move on to number 5 on the agenda, general business, and 5A, 2018 prioritized work plan, goal 4, review the grievance process, code and submission requirements, vote on whether the CIC should recommend to the City Commission that the grievance process should be removed from Municipal Code 2.30.060. Christina, you want to introduce this?
Yeah, and then I'll probably send it back to you. But
Okay.
As you recall, at the last meeting, there was a study group created to look at potential changes to the grievance code. They met about a week and a half ago, and it was Dennis Anderson, Mike Mitchell, Amy Wilhite, and
Roy.
Yeah, sorry, Roy. And and so they provided the recommendations, and I printed out the page attached. So in your packet of the hard copies, you'll actually have I know it's a small page. Too many. Here we go. No, do you have it? Yeah, I'm the only one who doesn't have it. Okay.
You're the one?
I'm stuck to the other one.
And so they produced this. I'll let Chair Mitchell speak about that. But tonight, if there is consensus, there could be a vote to move the recommendation forward to the City Commission. The City Commission will have a work session at the next available time to discuss this. And then based on that discussion, it can be put on a future City Commission agenda. So that's kind of the process moving forward. And I am working with Laura Turway on the next available open date for a work session.
Okay. The four of us did meet and talked about this. We had quite a discussion about
what was important and what wasn't about the grievance process, how we got to where we are, and came up with a recommendation. And I don't want to read this whole page to you, but I'll summarize a little bit. So first off, we recognize that it's important that there's a method for citizens to have their grievance be heard. But we also believe that a process that is just confusing and doesn't lead to anything isn't helpful and really kind of holds up the process. And since the neighborhood associations, they're recognized as part of our Goal 5 process, Goal 5? Or
Goal 1.
Goal 1 process for land use issues, but they are not a city organization. They're recognized by the city, but they're not a city organization. So the city does not have direct control over the neighborhood association other than whether or not to recognize them. And the CIC also does not have authority over the neighborhood association. So our feeling was, even if we have a grievance committee and they make a recommendation, there's no enforcement possible. So I will read this next part. Therefore, the CIC, the recommendation from the study group is that the CIC should recommend to the City Commission that Code Section 2.30060 grievances be removed from the code in its entirety. Citizens should be encouraged to use the public comment process as well as mediation services provided by Clackamas County Resolution Services and other steps as allowed by law. And then the next part is a letter that the study group recommends that the CIC sends to the City Commission. And do you want me to read this, or has everybody read it? Okay, everybody's read it? Okay. We'll open it up for comments. Roy, do you want to add anything?
No, I think you pretty much covered everything we discussed.
Good job on the committee, subcommittee work. I think it's on target. There's gray areas in everything, but this kind of clears it up and puts it out of the CIC, takes it out of the CIC.
Okay, thanks, man. Linda?
Dennis is not here tonight, but he sent me an email regarding this. And Dennis's items are, since most items of grievance have more to do with personalities, it makes a stronger case for the parties to be required to mediate before advancing to the City Commission. So that was Dennis's comment to do that.
Okay, yeah, and that is part of the recommendation, that mediation be strongly suggested.
I feel that we're volunteers with the CIC. None of us are trained mediators, legal people, and we really we're not well equipped to do this, to listen to this and to hear what they have to say.
Steve?
And we've got no power to enforce anything. So what suggestion can we make that says, oh, yes, you have a valid complaint. Okay, that's nice. Go away. All they can do is go to mediation. So go to mediation and then ignore the middleman.
All right. And any other comments, Vern?
It's looking like it's not a transfer of power from CIC, because we didn't have any in the first place, but or of what we could do. But if anything, it may be shifting the issue to the neighborhood association. When we go to the neighborhood association and have our meetings, if those issues come up, we need to be kind of prepared. And I think that's somewhat with Christine, isn't it? That give us some assistance in doing a better job of that. And one of them is, I think the CIC was too slow to react to some of these things. They brew before they become an official object at some level. And we're so far behind the curve by that time that we can't ever catch up with it. But it's transferring this to our function at the neighborhood associations. Is that kind of the way you see the grievance process of the future?
Well, what
May not be called the grievance process.
what this recommendation is that the grievance process be removed
Be removed from the
from the city code.
Right.
Okay, so the CIC is codified, and part of that is a grievance process.
Right.
So what the study group is recommending is that we remove that section. So the CIC no longer will establish grievance committees, and grievances no longer go
Open
to...
for business. CIC is not open for business.
Not in the grievance business. And we also, it was brought up that CIC is the only only city organization that has a grievance process in their bylaws or in their, yeah. Christina?
Just real quickly, I want to remind everybody, I am city staff here to support the Citizen Involvement Committee and I don't have a direct connection to neighborhood associations. I'm happy to provide support. So I just want to clarify what Vern said, that
Okay.
I am not here. My ability as staff, I'm here to support the CIC.
Mike?
Yes.
One thing, most of the neighborhood associations bylaws actually have their own grievance process, since most of the grievances arise from the neighborhood associations, which do recommend mediation as a first step. The other thing is, from a previous discussion as to quorum, I just double checked the city website. There are 11 active neighborhood associations, so it will require 6 votes to pass this.
Okay.
And I'd like to vote last.
So I have to apologize, I'm not up to speed on that. So the vote has to be a majority of
The voting CIC members.
the voting CIC members, including in the count those who aren't here tonight.
Correct. So this is
Okay.
a formal motion by the
Okay.
CIC.
Okay, so it will require
Yeah.
6
Yeah.
positive votes.
Yeah, and if it does-
Six votes in favor of whatever
Yeah.
motion we come up
And
with.
if nothing passes, the CIC can choose to send it to the next agenda or modify the motion. Those are all open on the table.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? Someone like to make a motion?
I move that we adopt the recommendation that the grievance process for the CIC be removed from the city code.
And that we sent this, can you add that we send this letter?
And then we send a letter.
And we send a letter to the city commission to study this and work on it at a work session.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Moved by Steve and seconded by Vern that the CIC adopt the recommendation of the Grievance Committee Study Group and send this letter to the City Commission. Is there any further discussion? Okay. Steve, if you can call a roll for the vote.
By neighborhood or by person?
By
Neighborhood.
neighborhood.
Just leave me till that.
Okay, Barclay Hills,
Yes.
Kanema,
Yes.
Caulfield,
Yes.
Hillendale,
Yes.
Park Place, yes. Tower Vista,
Yes.
Rivercrest,
Abstain.
so we have 6 aye and 1 abstain.
Okay, so the motion passes.
And I will provide you an update at the June meeting on next steps,
Okay,
or sooner when I learn.
all right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 5B, which is 2018 Work Plan Goal 5, better understand the role of CIC members and neighborhood associations when receiving city information. Christina?
Yeah. Well, there's 2 pieces to the prioritized work plan. One you received this evening from Kristen Brown, and as always, She's a great resource if you have additional questions. I can pass those on as we move forward in the months coming up about how best the CIC and even neighbor associations can help coordinate with city communication. And secondly, I've put together, along with Bill Kavaisman, our city attorney, and Laura Turway, a memo that you have in your packet, and I have hard copies for, that kind of breaks down a little bit of the roles and responsibilities of CIC and some questions I think people have asked previously. And I'm happy to go through it, and I'm also happy to answer questions. So I'll kind of leave it back to this group about how you'd like to discuss this agenda item.
Okay. Did anybody have a chance to look at the memo from our city attorney?
Not when you're talking about this one?
Yeah, this is one with the City of Oregon City letterhead.
Right, and I think I just received it. I did receive the letter
And
from,
we will get to that.
that's a separate issue, okay. I haven't read this one, no.
Sure, and I can happy to kind of give the top 5 or 10
Sure.
topics. So the Citizen Involvement Committee, as you know, you're appointed group of the city, a lot like the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission and the Transportation Advisory Commission. You advise the City Commission. You have in your code entitled to, you have your duties. Encourage public participation and knowledge of land use, encourage public participation in other government activities as they impact neighborhood programs, provide information to City Commission and the public, address grievances of the CIC, which may or may not change in the future, and a general assist with requests from the City Commission. And so those often fall under maybe ad hoc boards, and we have those on right now. So things like the Equitable Housing Group, the Alternative Mobility Standards, asking CIC members to be involved with those groups, or any other special requests the City Commission may have, as well as, making sure that your neighborhood association, you are, as Kristen said, I kind of see you're that two-way communication. You have a foot in your neighborhood association, you have a kind of foot in the city with being on the CIC. And so understanding when you have your hat on and what that hat means. So when you are acting on behalf of the CIC, so if you have your CIC hat on, it means right now, because you made votes, you were involved, you're at a meeting. If the CIC voted to allow you to speak on behalf of them, so sometimes Chair Wilhite, the CIC may vote to allow her to speak on behalf of them. When a letter is written, so the letters, you are a signatory of the letter in a sense by your vote. So those are times where you're acting on behalf of the CIC. There are many other times during the day where you're not a member of the CIC. And so when you are involved in your neighborhood association, when you are maybe forwarding things on, you are not acting as a member of on behalf of the CIC or an active role. So if in doubt, if you are or are not, you are most likely not acting on behalf of the CIC. So it's always good when you're in your communication, or to let people know, today I'm wearing my neighborhood hat. So I am Mike Mitchell, member of the Caulfield Neighborhood Association doing this, or I am Mike Mitchell, private resident of Oregon City, not speaking on behalf of the Neighborhood Association or the CIC. So it never hurts to provide that clarification, but it's not required. But it's just sometimes always good. This is the same issue as if you were a member of the Transportation Advisory Committee. So you are speaking on behalf of them when there is a formal process that you did that. Neighborhood associations are separate entities from the City of Oregon City, and the city is involved with them in a couple of ways, and this is on page 2 of the memo. They're recognized to receive land use notices, and that's per our requirements in our Chapter 1750 of our municipal code. Many development applications are required to hold neighborhood meetings, and so these recognized neighborhood associations are the geographical area that we send developers to, and is that as well as part of 1750, our municipal code. Neighborhood associations are entitled to local appeal of certain land use decisions at no cost. So you have a specific process in our code that you need to do. You need to vote at a notice meeting that you do or don't support the application, and you would vote as a neighborhood to appeal and ask for a fee waiver. There's a very specific process, and that is only given to recognized neighborhood associations. And finally, the city provides postcard mailings. So as part of the City Commission's budget, they allow a certain amount of money every biennium to support neighborhood associations that are recognized, to use that to encourage communication. And many groups use them for postcard mailings, but some neighborhood associations are looking at alternative ways that money can be used. And if you are one of them, definitely work with myself and Kelsey McNall, and we'll see based on our city code if we can reprioritize that money to things other than the postcards that still meet kind of our fiduciary requirements as a city government. So those are how the city is involved with neighbor associations, kind of very specific points. The question is are you a public official in Oregon? And the definition for public official, this is on page 3, is very, very broad. So are you elected or appointed to a government body? Yes, you're appointed by the mayor. Are you appointed or selected to a position with responsibilities include deciding or voting on matters that could have a pecuniary impact on a government body, agency, or other persons? Maybe, but I think the first one is yes. So you are appointed by the mayor, which is part of the city of Oregon City, which is a subdivision of the state, and therefore you are a public official when you are in your role as a CIC member. You are a public official. So as a city, any of our public meetings need to meet Oregon state meeting laws as public meetings. And so we do that. We have, we go over above the minimum, but we stream our videos online. We have ADA access if people have hearing impairment or other special requests. We work to make sure we can provide those. We need 24-hour notice, so translators, hearing aids, special opportunities for people with disabilities, we can provide that. So we keep adopted minutes. So we make sure that all of our meetings do provide with that open meeting law. So as a CIC, when you are doing CIC things, when you're involved in a CIC, those are subject to the open meetings law. Let's see. And on the back page, there's a little public meetings law flow chart, and you'll see you fall into that, as well as I attached to the agenda some other state information on public bodies and open meetings law. There is a city boards and advisory boards membership packet that's a couple years old, and Katie Riggs is working diligently. She's on vacation right now, but she'll come back and we'll provide an update, a 2018 update to that, and I'll be able to send that to you as well. So that's kind of the general gist of kind of your role as CIC and how that relates to both the City Commission and neighborhood associations. And once again, my role as staff is to support the CIC.
Any questions or comments on this?
Nicely prepared.
One question about land use issues for an inactive neighborhood. Where do those go?
So inactive neighborhoods, if there is a development that wants to propose something in an inactive neighborhood, actually the CIC will receive the development request.
And will they make their presentation in front of the CIC?
Correct, they will.
And do we have a land use chair or any such?
No, I think it's more of as staff, I would put them as a presentation on the next available meeting.
And you mentioned before that the CIC chair receives the postcards, the land use notice postcards, and that's not only
the land use notices.
Notice, sorry.
The request for a meeting. So as written in the code, we made sure to update this. When a development interest wants to hold a neighborhood association meeting, they need to contact the identified neighborhood association and send the notice of the meeting date. So if, let's say I'm in Park Place and I want to contact Park Place, so I contact Steve, and then we put the notice together, I forward that information on to the CIC chair of when that neighborhood association meeting is holding the meeting for that particular application.
Okay, so that's for an active neighborhood association.
Correct.
And how would that process work for an inactive neighborhood
so
association?
As we changed in our website is to contact me as staff, and I'll put the request for a presentation on the next available meeting.
Next available
CIC
meeting.
CIC.
Okay.
And if for some reason, if there is, maybe it's the next available one is July 4th and we're off that month because it's a national holiday and it's more than 30 days, then they could elect to wait, or they could elect, just like the neighborhood association, if it's past 30 days, to hold their own. So that they give them that option. If the neighborhood association or the CIC in place of the neighborhood cannot meet within a reasonable time, and that's deemed 30 days from the request, then they can hold their own, and they send a notice of 300 feet to all the owners and residents within 300 feet, and they hold their meeting on their own.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments? I'll throw out one little thing. This is terrific information, and it's really well put together. But I think it's outside the 8 seconds for a lot of people. Is that politely said? So maybe we could get, I mean, there's probably parts of this that anybody who's not a part of the CIC probably doesn't care about that much, but there's other things in here, especially the part about how the neighborhood associations and the CIC and the commission and the general public all, how the communication goes, that if Kristen could distill this down to an 8-second version, I think that could be really helpful. It'd be a challenge.
I'm up for it.
If she could make it funny, it would just,
I'll try to get Buddy McCook.
And a salacious headline, right?
Whose picture do I get to use? That's the question.
I want the beaver to present it.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I remember written at a 3rd grade level.
Yeah, right. I know. I'll work on that.
Okay, any other comments or questions on that item? Okay, we will move on to number 6, which is grievances. As you recall, at the recommendation of the CIC, the City Commission did put a hold on the filing of grievances, but there are 2 grievances that were filed before that and before that hold. And on the recommendation of the city attorney, we need to move forward with that. Christina, do you want to walk us through the process?
Sure. I have a 4-slide presentation, promise. So against the task of the grievance committee will be to study any grievances of those considering themselves adversely affected by the CIC. So sorry. Wasn't quite what I wanted. So, Grievance Committee 1702 is currently still on hold. GC 1703 and 1703 is on hold, and I had a slide that didn't get saved. So, GC 1704 was what the City Citizen Involvement Committee determined in March to respond back to the aggrieved party that they requested all the CIC members to be recused, and there was a request back to the aggrieved to come back to the city when they no longer want all the CIC members to be recused. Subsequently to that, there was a GC 1801 submitted against the CIC for not meeting Title II of the grievance process. And so in a sense, what our city attorney has identified through the memo is in that resubmittal of the 1801 grievance, the aggrieved parties have in a sense made their comment. And so our city attorney recommends, so it's a recommendation, the Citizen Involvement Committee can make their own decision, to process both GC 1704 and GC 1801 together. It can make different motions at the end of the process, but to process both of them through the same grievance committee. And the request that, the motion that the CIC makes this evening is to reject the request to recuse all members of the CIC and to move forward with both grievances as submitted and create a grievance committee. And so the process for creating a grievance committee, I have, with the benefit of the internet, I have a random group generator. So I've taken all the names of CIC members, both who are here tonight and are not here. And we will pick by computer algorithm 5 names. And if there is a quorum of those 5 names, they will meet tonight to sign the letter to the aggrieved party that says, we've received your grievance. Please seek mediation and contact us for next steps. If we don't have a quorum of those 5 names, then the grievance committee will meet next month. And so just to remind everybody, next steps is the CIC creates a grievance committee. the grievance committee sends out the letter this evening or next month. And when the grievance committee begins their work, they will hear the process, they will make a recommendation, send it back to the CIC, who actually makes the formal motion on their findings for the grievance. And I'm going to go to the intranets. I have everybody up here, all CIC members, and 5. So when we press refresh, 5 names are going to magically appear on the screen, and that's going to be the grievance committee. And I know there was some questions and comments about recusals this evening, so I can send it back to our Chair Mitchell to have that conversation.
I was gonna say, don't you need a motion to?
Well, before we do that, to figure out if they're going to be recused from creating. I guess we can do, first motion is to create the grievance committee. I guess second motion is to see if there's any recusals.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there any discussion on the formation of a grievance committee, one grievance committee to hear these 2 grievances? Okay, we have a motion.
I'll move that we create the grievance committee.
Okay.
Correct.
Second, anyone?
Second.
Okay. Moved by Roy and seconded by Steve to form one grievance committee to hear the 2 grievances. Any further discussion? Steve, to you again for the vote.
Barclay Hills,
Yes.
Kanema,
Yes.
Caulfield,
Yes.
Hillendale,
Yes.
Park Place, yes. Rivercrest,
Abstain.
Tower Vista,
Yes.
6 aye, 1 abstain, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here who feels that they need to be or should be recused from serving on the grievance committee?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Okay, is that automatic, or is there some process that we determine whether or not they should be recused?
Let me check our code.
Okay. I'll see if I can find something too. Okay, it says any member who is a party to or is directly impacted by the grievance or the recommendation must recuse themselves from being chosen for this committee. So both of you feel that applies?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So then Karen and Janice will both be recused, so you can take them off the list, right?
Does there need to be a motion for that approval of recusal?
Oh. Okay. Need another motion to recuse Janice and Karen from the grievance committee.
I make a motion that Karen and Janice can be recused from being on the grievance committee.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Linda, seconded by Steve. Any further discussion? Steve, you're getting good at this.
Barclay Hills,
Yes.
Kanema,
Yes.
Caulfield,
Yes.
Hillendale,
Yes.
Park Place, yes. Rivercrest,
This time I'll go with an aye.
Tower Vista.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous.
Okay.
Would you like to come and press the button?
Ooh.
Number.
The name comes
I
up.
know, let's go for it.
Okay.
You're ready.
Oh, right there. Okay. All right. Oh, here we go. Refresh. Boink.
Oh, wait, no, that's not what we want.
That's not what we want.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, it did groups.
I had the wrong website. Can you hold on a moment?
Oh.
I had it in my desk
just
and I switched
randomized
it from my
those.
desk.
Oh, that did
We
5
do
groups.
2 out of 3?
No, I had a different website on my desk.
Who's on my fantasy football team?
1 second.
A question.
That's
if I
all of
may.
the candidates.
Yes, Roy.
Do the recusals actually take into account the number of people needed for the quorum then, or is it still?
No, doesn't
Still
say.
5.
Okay.
And
Sorry, I have this on my other computer.
Name generator.
Wow, fake name generator. I want that
Where
one.
was it?
Oh, we could come up with a fake name. Baby name
it was up
generator.
top here someplace, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, grab a bunch of paper quick.
Yeah, no, we would do this way because it was, no one, computer was involved and no one was involved. Here,
I'm glad
One second.
against other
didn't come up in my deal.
yeah, well, hold
That's
on.
true.
Should we do that?
Let's let John
No, no,
present
no.
while she writes names on paper.
I wanted to make sure we didn't have any staff involved
Oh.
in the choosing of
Gotcha.
Should we take a short break?
If you want to take a 1-minute break, that'd be fine.
A 1 minute
I
break.
think we can do it.
That's a short break.
So if it's 1 minute, we'll just,
Let's take a 10
1 minute, we'll just wait.
That's only
I was
30
going to
seconds.
say, or that, let's take a 10-minute break. I wouldn't mind a late stretch.
Man, I was so perfect and I ruined it. Sorry about that.
So about this distillation of information, is this something that you guys would want to send out in an email or to your neighborhood, or who is getting this information? Again, back to my who, and then
Put it on Nextdoor to better understand the role of the CIC.
City website,
okay,
trail news, all the little things on your pie chart,
sure, okay,
probably.
and just maybe
I mean, that's up to the group, obviously, but that would be my suggestion.
okay, kind of more info, what you don't know about CIC or
Yeah.
something like that.
About your neighborhood association and the CIC and the city commission. Because I still think there's an awful lot I know there's a lot of people that think that their homeowners association is the neighborhood association.
Oh, yeah, that is interesting.
The information, people don't understand that. And it happens,
Vice versa.
definitely happens in Caulfield because our population centers are kind of quite a ways away from each other. Kind of,
Yeah.
there's a lot of homes right by the high school, and then there's a lot of homes over off of Maple Lane. And I think the people that live more in the Maple Lane area see Caulfield and say, oh,
Not me.
that's not where I live. So away goes the postcard. So maybe
Gotcha.
just starting with something as basic as that. What's the
Sure.
difference between your homeowners association and neighborhood association?
Neighborhood
That I can do.
Christina, how we doing?
We're so close.
We're so close, okay.
High tech is letting us down.
Yeah.
It was so perfect. And then
Look at all these generators. So that's pretty cool. Big
It really is.
generator.
Fake name generator.
Business name.
Yeah, I like the fake name generator.
Where's Cambridge Analytica when you
You can always
need
have, you can
Really?
always have Mr. Lewis come up and give us a presentation on public works while we're waiting.
Yeah.
Well, he suggested that, but Christina wants to keep charging
I'd
on.
say go for it.
Oh,
It's Christina's fault.
It is my fault. I'd say, Mr. Lewis, go for it.
Okay. All right, we will call on our Public Works Director, John Lewis, for a presentation.
Well, it's a little less than a presentation, but I will take my 9 seconds and, is it 9 or 8? But
Not
you're
old
a very,
people.
you're a very astute group, so I'm pretty sure that you
Professional
get.
job done here, it's 8 seconds, John.
Yeah, wow,
Kind of like
that
riding a bull,
that is a new
You got 8 seconds.
That's how long it takes. I can't even get the screen to drop in 8 seconds. So I wanted to talk to you about a couple things, and the first thing is about circuit court decision that was made that I think is important to you. And because of some of the social media messaging that I have seen, I felt it was important to clarify the decision because I think it's critical. So I've handed you each a copy of the circuit court decision, and this is on a lawsuit between the McLaughlin neighborhood and the city of Oregon City. And it was related to our operations center and the site down at 122 South Center Street. And if I cut to the chase in just my 8 seconds, the bottom line is that the judge made a decision in favor of our yard being not part of Waterboard Park. So the upper yard is, as we've always kind of suggested it has been, it is the upper yard. And so I highlighted some things that I thought were important for you to draw your attention to. And again, I don't necessarily know that I want to go through all of them, but there were several things in here that I thought made sense to talk a little bit about. And but really, it is the conclusion that I think matters most. But there was 3 areas of discussion with regard to Waterboard Park. There's the Waterboard Park, which I think each of you know and have loved for many, many years. It's the area that is really served off the end of John Adams Street, and you can walk up that street that used to be a through street, a drive-through street, that is no longer a drive-through street because of some of the ground movement along that roadway. And that whole area that takes you all the way up to Creed Street, which is what most people know of as Waterboard Park. And so there was, I think some of the misinformation is that the city was trying to change that part that the community has always enjoyed, continues to use, change that to something different. I saw a lot of comments about that, or a few comments. I don't monitor social media that much, sorry. But I heard a lot about that. So I just wanted to make, the city was never pursuing the idea of converting Waterboard Park into something like an upper yard or public works yard. That will, and it's charter protected, that will always be a park. The area that we considered, or that we have been calling the upper yard, where there's really 3 buildings up there, a building we call the Big Building, Cannery Building, and then another one that we call the Stormwater Building. As well as the Armory property. That's kind of all that upper yard area. And there was a lot of testimony from folks who had been in the area for many, many, many years about because they had used that area to wander through or to walk their dogs, that somehow that felt like a park. And the judge was clear in her decision that it would take much more than that to deem a piece of property a park. There was also a testimony about the fact that the city had a lot of maps and a lot of documents that kind of suggested somehow that that area was a park. And what the judge decided was, or what the judge's decision outlines here in great detail, is that the city or the owner of that property needs to be, and I forget the specific term, but the owner acts and the owner's acts and declarations should be deliberate. So in other words, if you're going to make a piece of property a park, that's a pretty important decision. You have to actually take specific action, like a charter amendment, for instance, or an ordinance, or even a resolution, none of which was presented in this case. So the city's position was always that this never was park property. And to get there, it took an exorbitant amount of attorney time and staff time, volunteer time. I think we spent close to 9 days in trial in one form or another. I think that is a disservice. I'll just say that. I think it's a disservice to this community that we, as a city, had to go there. All in all, the judge's decision helps establish that property clean and clear is not park property. And I just think that's important for you to know. I'll probably be bringing that to neighborhoods when I get invited and allowed to come. But I wanted that for the CIC. So take that back. If I've already been to your neighborhood and presented, feel free to share it with your neighborhoods as well. But I think it's important that we kind of nip that little problem in the bud. The other thing, and I wanted to mention, and I've been bringing this to neighborhood committees, which, by the way, I wouldn't mind getting to yours and yours and yours. I've been to yours, but I haven't been to Tower Vista, and I'm coming to Berkeley Hills, I'm pretty sure. sometime in the future. But talk a little bit about our summer construction projects. So the flyer that I didn't bring for the CIC is going to be published in the Trail News. So it's the center in color. Just know that we've got a lot of project load this year. It's going to be typical of what our summer inconvenience is. So most of that is projects that are generated through either your pavement maintenance utility fee, your water fee, your sewer fee, your stormwater fee. That's how we're paying for most of these projects. There's also some private development projects that we've highlighted on here. There's a lot of small stuff going on as well as the bigger stuff. So those are included in this map. And on the backside, there's information associated with those projects that they're numbered, and that's pretty easy to follow. So wanted to mention that. And then last but not least is I wanted to talk about a new opportunity that the City Commission has approved for acquisition. It's a piece of property that's up on First Street. It made it in the paper, so this is probably old news, but I just want to talk about it because, Karen, you're right. This is the more interesting and latest news piece as it comes to Public Works. And so what we are looking at is, many of you know General Distributors up on First Street or have driven by General Distributors up on First Street. And they have been in business for a very long time. Several generations have been there in one form or another as a distributor. And so when they went out of business, that was kind of a surprise. But it seemed also like an opportunity. I didn't know the family necessarily. I didn't know all the history that they had. I learned that later. But when I heard about that, we looked closely at the size of that facility and whether it might fit the needs that we have at South Center Street. And I will tell you this, we have made offers, or we've made an offer on one other piece. We've been pursuing a second piece on First Street. First Street, there's only one other site that I would have liked to have had, and that's the PGE site where they have their operations, because we probably could have moved right into that and had all the storage space that we needed, but they aren't leaving, and that's okay. But I will tell you that for many, many years, that's been my favorite place. But First Street, because of the land use zoning and the access there and the lot sizes, has always been kind of my dream property. And this property, while it's probably different than what we would develop for an operations center, it's got a lot of warehouse space on it, which is nice, but we tend to need both warehouse space and yard space. So trying to figure out how to utilize this space for our needs is something we're still working through. But City Commission approved an offer on the property. And so we've made that offer. It's been accepted. We've got 60 days of due diligence to go through, just vetting the property, making sure that the building isn't going to fall down. It's got a couple of 10,000-gallon fuel tanks on it, which is going to be awesome for our needs as well. So just making sure those are good and the environmental assessment of that property is good. So we're excited about it. It's 4.79 acres, which is a little bit less than what we had hoped for, but it's going to get us a long ways to something that will meet the operational needs of the Public Works Department. And we've also talked about moving the parks operations into the same facility. So that will bring the two departments, at least in location, into the same spot, and might help some of the problems that we were having with site development up at the cemetery as well. So good news. And other than that, that's more than 9 seconds, but.
Do you want to talk about how we're going to maintain using our current Public Works operation sites?
We will continue to maintain our Public Works operation sites.
They're important pieces of property.
They are very important pieces of property as we look. We've always envisioned more than what we have today, so this provides us more than what we have today. How we utilize that Center Street property as well as our Mountain View property as well as our cemetery, the operations component of the cemetery property, I think, is yet to be discussed. But I think they're all important properties. They're nicely spread across the city. They provide opportunities for material storage or fleet storage or who knows, maybe other meeting locations. So yet to be determined, right? But we're excited about First Street. We're closing, I forget the exact date, but mid-June. I think it's the 17th of June. So we got to get our due diligence stuff done, which we're well on our way with. And as the city commission's authorized the sale, unless there's something big, city manager's authorized to sign that. So unless there's a hang up of some sort, we expect to move on that pretty quickly and then start thinking about how to utilize that space for our needs. So I think within 18 months, we'll probably all be up at that location.
Okay. Any questions for John? Commissioner Shaw.
One thing that is kind of unique with our departments is that they're always looking ahead. So Public Works has been saving their money and are going to pay for this already. It's already there. And so there's no taxpayer dollars going to be affected here. So that's one thing we're always going to notice about the departments in this city, that they're always looking ahead and saving for that next project that they're going to have to do because the city is growing. So I have to applaud Mr. Lewis here for not thinking that far ahead and stuff. So, and as they do this building now, they're going to modify it enough to where it's going to be a 30, 40, 50-year plan. So any money they put into this that they already have is going to be subject to that growth that they're anticipating. So.
Great.
Yep, I got a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned on the First Street property that you have plenty of warehouse space and plenty of yard space. The part that I picked up that may be missing, and I don't know how big of an office space do you envision you need on that property? Do you need to do some tweaking of numbers and floor space?
Right. So what I said was we've got plenty of warehouse space. It does have lots of yard space, but probably, if we were to balance or develop that site on our own, we'd probably change that ratio a bit, right?
Sure.
If we were building our own.
If you had your choice of everything,
right.
Yeah, you'd look for a little more yard space.
Right, so that's yard space versus warehouse space. Office space, the office space there is what I kind of refer to as fractured. It's kind of a couple of spaces that are in between a lot of warehouse space, and you kind of go through a back warehouse door to get to maybe 3 offices, but you can't get from those 3 offices to the front office. So it's not going to meet our needs for what we need there. And we're going to look
good communications within.
Right. We're going to look pretty hard at the work that we've already done at the 122 South Center Street site, which is, looked at office configurations, what the different crews need, what we need for future development. We need to work in parks into that because we didn't include them in that effort. So try to look at what those needs might be. So yeah, we've got some work to do. We'll probably request proposals for, I don't know if it'll be design build or construction management, general contracting, or just hire an architect. And I don't know how we're going to do that, but we've got to look pretty hard at that. That office component, because it's really dated. It's the oldest part of that facility and just doesn't meet our needs for what we really need. We need large lunchroom, we need showers and locker rooms, we need those kinds of facilities, and we need a good meeting rooms, those kind of things. They're more individual, small little areas that are disconnected.
Anything else?
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much for staying for the meeting, John. Thank you. Okay, we'll jump back. We now have our random 5-person committee picker.
Pretend it worked perfectly the first time.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to click on refresh.
There we go.
James King, Linda Baker, Michael Craig Stone, Denise McGriffin. We're not even close to a quorum.
We do not have a quorum, so the grievance committee will be continued to the June meeting.
Are you recording these names?
I am.
Okay.
Do I need to do anything with that?
No, it's fine.
And we will need to make sure we personally reach out to these individuals to get them to our next meeting. Right?
Does this include alternates too?
Yes, and that is what's in the code.
Okay, because I don't recognize some
Yes.
of the names.
I do those things, they run on those couple guys are.
Let's not
Three
try
people
this
we've
again.
never
We're
seen.
fine.
No, that's, and I checked, Christina checked, and it does say in the code that it's primary and alternate members, randomly selected.
So question about that.
Yes, our Steve, sorry.
So while they've been selected, they were not given an option of recusing themselves.
That's true.
So we will have potential issues.
We would have to, the names are gone.
Yeah, if we,
I can put grievances back on the CIC agenda for the June meeting, just to ensure that there are no recusals. And
We
have
will
to.
need to revisit if there is a reason, and we would reselect however many members we need, should any of those
I didn't
individuals need to
recognize
be.
all those names. Are they in the Berkeley Hills as an example? That would be a high probability. No?
No,
I'm the only one in no.
You're the only one there, okay. But yeah,
Okay,
it's
so,
still open, that it could be a question.
then we should put it on the next agenda and give them an opportunity to recuse themselves if necessary and reselect. And then the grievance committee would meet after that meeting. Okay, anything else on the grievance topic? We will move on to roundtable, and we'll start over with Roy.
Okay, couple things. We had our steering committee meeting at the beginning of the month. Just discussed what happened at the last meeting. General stuff, nothing exciting too much. Our next meeting scheduled will be June 5th. Would be another steering committee. Our next general meeting, there will be a change on that. At the last CIC meeting, I had mentioned it would be July 3rd. At our last general meeting, I was unable to attend, and apparently I was overridden, and nobody wants to have a meeting on July 3rd, so it will be July 10th. And so the location is yet to be determined. We like to have our July meeting at a park, and Joyce is working on a reservation for that. We tend to get a better turnout that way. And while we're here, I would like to officially invite John to our meeting in July if he's available. I'll send him an email and we'll find out if that works for him. And that's pretty much all I got.
Okay, Linda.
We had a great April meeting. We had Public Works and Metro were there for guest speakers. We were thrilled that we had other people coming from other neighborhoods, but we were a little displeased that those other people tried to hijack our meeting, to come through. So had to be asked at your meeting here. But we will be having our steering meeting next Wednesday.
Steve.
So Park Place will have a meeting, a general meeting on May 21st. John is invited. Then we will have a steering committee meeting on June 18th. Most everything that's going on in Park Place is the concept plan annexation. So
That's all.
we get more people showing up.
I'm sure you do. Janice.
Okay. Berkeley Hills had a steering committee meeting last month and it went very well. We are having our regular meeting tomorrow night. We're hoping for wonderful things.
We had our steering committee meeting last Thursday. We were thrilled that our chair, Ed Lindquist, was present. He's been having some medical challenges, so it was good to have him back with us. Our next meeting will be June 21st. We've already confirmed with John. And John gave us an update. Phil Lewis from the Community Services. Why don't we just call it Parks and Rec? I can never get that right.
More to it.
There's more to
Yes,
it.
so Phil Lewis of Community Services, Jim Badd from the Police Department, and John from Public Works have been meeting together on the Overlook Cross, Creed Street, whatever you want to call it, issue at the top of Waterboard Park. There's been some change in signage. There's been an increase in enforcement. And so in our June meeting, we'll be discussing other things that the city is able to do and things possibly neighbors can pitch in a hand on. And the big news, this coming Saturday at Rivercrest Park, starting at 9 a.m. at the picnic shelter, is our annual flower basket sale. $25 for 12-inch pre-potted plants, and they are gorgeous. Last year was the first year I really paid attention. You get like 5 to 6 trailing and upright varieties in a pot. They are prettier than anything I've seen in a commercial store. So come by Rivercrest Park, 9 a.m. this Saturday, and get the best pick early.
Caulfield, our steering committee meeting was a couple of weeks ago, and unfortunately I missed it. But our next meeting is May 22nd, and we do have one land use presentation that is, I believe, going to happen at that meeting, and that's just a small 4-lot subdivision off of Park Place. That's it for me. Aaron?
We had our last general meeting, what was it, end of March, first part of April?
April would be our general.
And we got some people to show up. And I'm not 100% sure why we did that, but I think one of the reasons could have very well been Brian Shaw was our guest speaker. And the police department was there, did a good pitch. They always do a good pitch out there. They took a little bit of heat from some neighbors that thought they weren't patrolling the speed on Myers Road was the primary one that they were targeting. They thought they were letting too many speeders go, but the police department had a real good pitch on, it's not how often you see the police department in your neighborhood. It's how often they get data from the neighborhood to say, oh, we better go look and see what's going on. Our electronic eyes in the sky and all that they're using it well, I think, to do the job without being out there on the street every. And then we had a couple of different speakers that somebody wanted master gardeners there, and a guy came and showed up and did a pretty good job, I thought. Master Gardeners is such a big organization. They focused primarily on pests and stuff like that, rodents and all of that, control and how to use the Master Gardener program and online, and they had speed communications with them. And then we had Vector Control was there. And nobody thinks that's okay. But I had heard before that they did a pretty good presentation, and there was a lot of interest in it. And it was surprisingly, again, they probably don't have the biggest budget in the world, but they get a lot of mileage out of the technology that they're using and how they capture where some bugs are at, and that was pretty much it, I guess, there.
Okay, thank you. Christina, anything to add?
I don't have anything to add, but here's my list of liaison stuff for next month. I'll work with Kristen on the crib notes for the memo. And I'll work with Karen on the postcard formatting, kind of logistics. I will update the grievance committee members to let them know that they were chosen and make sure that their calendars are penned in, not penciled in, for next month, as well as I'll provide an update on the next available work session for the City Commission on the grievance proposal.
Great.
And I'll work with Mr. Mitchell to sign, or Amy to sign the letter that came from the CIC tonight through the motion to the City Commission.
Anything that needs to be added to Christina's list? Okay. Kristen, thank you again for being here. Anything you want to add?
Nothing.
All right. This is not necessarily a good idea to give a city commissioner the last words, but we'll give Commissioner Shaw the last words. No, I shouldn't say that. We really appreciate you being here. It's the meeting workload that all of you commissioners have to endure is incredible, and we appreciate you always being here. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Well, I wanted to give kudos to Linda and the Kanema neighborhood meeting I got to attend the other night, and you're right, there was some individuals there that I was a little curious about, but Mr. Basinger ran that meeting very smoothly, and I got to compliment him on his job that he did there, keeping control.
Control, yeah.
So, very good job. Now, a couple of exciting things in the city is, I don't know if you know a lot about that, but it's we just got a AA plus bond rating in this city. Our finance department is just, I put them right there with Public Works, but they've worked tirelessly to get us here. We're at a AA plus now, which really helps our, purchase bonds and stuff, maybe for the new police station, but also helps for insurance and things like that. So I think last time we did this, we'd save like $60,000 a year in the time we helped that bond. So that's a big deal. So anytime you see Wyatt Parno or anybody like that, give him a little pat on the back. So, and I was going to talk about the Public Works building, but thankfully Mr. Lewis was here and got to do that. So, and the last thing was we started our police building project last Monday. We invited architects in who's ever interested in doing this new police courts facility building, and so that's underway now. And I think next Thursday, myself and Chief Band and some other folks we're going to go tour 3 or 4 fairly new police facilities, from Albany to Kaiser to. We toured West Lynn the other night, so I'm going to go tour some of the newer facilities and see what everybody else is kind of doing now. So it's pretty exciting stuff. So, yeah, that's it. Thanks.
All right. Thank you again for being here.
Yeah.
Anything else for the good of the order? We're adjourned.